Then there were 21, everyone. 21 college football teams waiting to get in. I don't have the rest of the rhyme. It'd be kind of cool, though, if I could make one. Basically, what happened last night, Coastal Carolina went down to App State. Something I thought was a possibility. Didn't think it was going to happen. Another top 15 upset, guys. Let's go. Which leads us to tonight. 21 college football teams still playoff eligible. Which 4 are going to get in? It's really kind of cool if you think about it. 17 of these teams are going to be disappointed by the end of the year because they're not going to be in the playoff picture. But let's talk about one of them tonight. Number 21, SMU. They're going to be playing Tulane. Tulane's traveling to SMU. SMU's favored by 13.5 points in this game on ESPN. Tulane's not doing well recently. They're on a 4-game losing streak. They're 1-5. Michael Pratt did not have a bad game, and that's going to be really how Tulane's going to win any games for the rest of the year. Honestly, if they lose 2 more games, they're not going to be they're not going to be bowl eligible, which is it's rough because you're drawing SMU and Cincinnati in a row. Just not ideal if you're Tulane at all. Michael Pratt last week went 20 of 30 for 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. Cameron Corral went 13 carries for 68 yards, and Will Wallace had 2 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Tulane put up 22 points. It's just the fact is Houston put up 44. Their defense has been atrocious, which is good news for Tanner Mordecai. They're coming off a bye week, but the week before that, it was almost terrifying for SMU. They escaped 31-24 from Navy. Tanner Mordecai went 30 of 40 for 324 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Trey Siggers had 14 carries for 49 yards and a touchdown. That is what Navy did extremely well, which is going to be really interesting because I think Navy laid out a little, basically how do you beat SMU? This is how you beat SMU. You don't let them run the ball with Ulysses Bentley. You don't let Ulysses Bentley and I forgot the other guy's name. Siggers is really their, I think he's their number 2 back. If Bentley can't get going and Siggers cannot get going, that is how you beat SMU right there, guys. You force Tanner Mordecai to win the game by himself, which I don't know if he can do. Now, he's been a good quarterback, and honestly, Sonny Dykes is a phenomenal head coach, but that's how you beat SMU. That's their weakness. Reggie Robinson had 5 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. They have some really good receivers on this team, guys, some really good ones. And SMU's going to get their shot in a couple weeks. You got to be undefeated heading into that Cincinnati game. But if you beat a Cincinnati team, which is right now ranked number 2, and if you're a SMU fan, you do not want Cincinnati to lose the rest of the year outside of that SMU game. And then again, when you play in the American Championship, I think you have a serious case to be made if SMU is able to go undefeated and beat Cincinnati, that SMU should be a playoff team. And I will argue that. That is an argument that I think should be made and could be made. Again, 21 teams left. Why not SMU? SMU could be one of the last 4 standing. It's been a crazy year. Why not a group of 5 team and not a group of 5 team that we expected to make it entering the year? That was Cincinnati. A group of 5 team that wasn't even ranked to start the year. Wasn't ranked until really 2 weeks ago. I think it'd be really kind of cool. But I think SMU's a significantly better team. But let's not act like Tulane has not given SMU trouble before. Tulane's one of those teams that constantly gives SMU some issues. But I still think this is an SMU's game to win. Give me SMU to win and cover that 13.5 point spread. 7:20, we got the Broncos sitting at 3-3, traveling to the Browns, which also sit in 3-3, 1.5 point spread for the Browns on Fox. It's a really interesting game because Broncos started out 3-0, lost their last 3. Browns started out 3-1, lost their last 2. This is kind of a must-win game for both teams because if you look at the AFC West, you got the Raiders sitting at 4-2. You got the Chargers sitting at 4-2. You best believe that the Chiefs will go on they're going to get their stuff together, Broncos. And if you're Broncos right now, you're looking at, you could possibly be the worst team in the division. And that's not what you want for a team that you want to make the playoffs. Plus, you have a lot of injuries. Let's get into them real quick. For the Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater has a foot injury. He had limited practice, so he's questionable this week. If not, obviously Drew Lock is going to be starting. He obviously lost the game where Drew Lock saw any significant playing time, so Obviously, you don't want Drew Lock starting if you're the Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater is your ideal starter. Albert O has a hamstring injury. He's on IR till at least next week. So that means Eric Saubert, 2017 5th-round pick out of Drake, is going to have to take over that number. He's going to have to take over that. I don't know how to describe it. He's going to have to take over that number 2 tight end role that Albert O filled. They run a lot of those 2 tight end sets, so that he's got to. I don't know how their offense is going to work without Albert O. Then obviously the injuries to the wide receiver room has been devastating. Jerry Jeudy has an ankle injury. He's on IR until at least next week. KJ Hamler's out with the season with an ACL injury. Deshaun Hamilton also out for the season with an ACL injury. That has forced their number 4 receiver, Tim Patrick, skip into that number 2 role. Kendall Hinton, I don't know if you remember that name. I've mentioned it a couple times on this channel before. He's been a productive wide receiver for them. They don't remember. He was that quarterback for the Broncos when they had no quarterbacks, when all their quarterbacks had COVID problems. He was their quarterback. And then, weirdly enough, number 4 receiver, John Smoke Brown. John Smoke Brown was a wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, if you do not remember, last year. Very good. The last 2 years, actually. Buffalo didn't want to pay him money, so he left in free agency. Got a pretty good contract from Las Vegas. They cut him, which I never understood. I guess they had more. Brian Edwards turned out to be a better player than they expected him to be. But now he just signed with the Denver Broncos, which honestly kind of needed a guy like John Brown. Cortland Sutton's great. I really love Cortland Sutton, but outside of him, you don't really have a receiver that can stretch the field as much as John Brown can. They have an injury to Garrett Bowles. He's a knee injury, a limited practice, so it's questionable. I bet he plays, but if not, Cameron Fleming, the 2014 4th-round pick, will play. And then obviously Bradley Chubb has been hurt for a while now, but actually he's supposed to come back this week with an ankle injury. He's supposed to return this week. We'll see if that happens, but if not, Malik Reed has been doing a pretty good job and has played 4th-year player out of Nevada. You look at the Browns, they're dealing with some serious injuries. As hard as the Broncos have been hit at the wide receiver room, the Browns have really been hit everywhere. This is how much injuries. I have so many listed for the Browns. Obviously, you have Baker. Baker has a shoulder injury. He's going to be out for this game, which just makes it even more confusing why the Browns are favored. Teddy's playing. I'll get to that later. But Case Keenum could end up starting. If you don't know, he's a 10th-year player out of Houston. He was the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings when they made the NFC Championship. Went to the Broncos for like a year. He didn't start. He started, but he wasn't very good. Traded to the Redskins. Started there. Wasn't very good. The Redskins let him walk in free agency. He ends up signing with the Cleveland Browns to be their backup quarterback for Baker Mayfield. This is going to be his first significant action since he's been in Cleveland. Nick Mullins also signed in Cleveland to be a backup, to be 3rd string. If you don't remember, he's a 5th-year quarterback out of Southern Mississippi. He was the backup quarterback for Jimmy G for the Niners when Jimmy G would go down. He signed with the Eagles, but the Eagles ended up trading for Gardner Minshew, which means Nick Mullins is replaceable, so they let Nick Mullins walk in free agency. He signs with the Cleveland Browns to be the 3rd string guy. He's going to be the backup for this game. Running back injuries, you have to. It's hard. You're talking about the number 1 running offense, but you lose Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, your number 1 and number 2 backs, and 2 of the better backs in this league. Both of them with calf injuries. Luckily, Nick Chubb's is nowhere near as serious as Kareem Hunt's. Nick Chubb's expected to be back next game. Kareem Hunt's supposed to miss until at the very least week 10 on IR. So that's going to move Dearness Johnson, the number 3 back, 4th-year player out of South Florida, USF. He's going to have to be the starter, so it's going to be interesting to see that. Demetric Felton, 2021 6th-round pick out of UCLA. We'll see how he's used in the offense. And then John Kelly, a guy they signed. 2018 6th-round pick out of Tennessee. Fullback Andy Yanovich has gone onto IR with a hammy. He's supposed to be back in 2 weeks. So until then, Johnny Stanton, 3rd-year player out of UNLV, will be taking over fullback snaps. Wide receiver OBJ has an AC joint issue. Did not play on Wednesday, so he's questionable for this game. If not, obviously they have some depth at wide receiver. Jarvis Landry is, in my opinion, I think he's better than, just personal opinion, better than OBJ, 2nd-round pick in 2014 out of LSU. Then obviously, my opinion, one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL, in Donovan Peoples-Jones. People Jones, 2026 round pick out of out of Michigan. Absolute phenomenal. That man has been everything and more you could hope if you're Cleveland Brown fans. Rashard Higgins, 2016 5th round pick out of Colorado State. He's an okay player to have as your number 3 option, I guess. And then you have Anthony Schwartz to stretch the field with, the 2021 3rd round pick out of Auburn. Then you have the injuries to the offensive line. Now, these aren't serious because all of them are questionable. We don't know if they're all going to be out, but left tackle Jedrick Wills has an ankle injury. He's questionable for this game. Their center, J.C. Treader, the knee injury. He's had a limited practice, so he's questionable for this game. Right tackle Jack Conklin had a knee injury. He had a limited practice and is questionable for this game. Honestly, if one of these players are out, their number 1 offensive lineman, it seems like across the board, is Blake Hanse, the 8th-year player out of Northwestern. He's listed literally a backup left tackle, backup right tackle. He's a backup guard. And honestly, I think he could possibly switch over to center if they need him to, considering their backup center went on IR a couple weeks ago. So it's going to be interesting what they do there. Also, look out if there's more than one injury, to put Blake Hanse wherever they want him. At center, you'll likely have Michael Dunn. He's a 3rd-year player out of Maryland. He's listed as a backup guard. So, in my opinion, probably going to see him, since there's no backup really center on the team, we're going to see him maybe if J.C. Treader's not able to go. And then Jedrick Wills, obviously, if Conklin's also out, Blake Hanse is going to take over for him. And James Hudson, the 2021 4th-round pick out of Cincinnati, would take over for Wills. Then you got the defensive issues. Defensive tackle Malik Jackson has a knee injury at a limited practice on Wednesday, so he's questionable this game. So we might have Jordan Elliott, the 2020 3rd-round pick out of Missouri, Andrew Billings, 2016 4th-round pick out of Baylor, or Tommy Togai, 2021 4th-round pick out of Ohio State. The right defensive end, Jadeveon Clowney, has an ankle injury at a limited practice on Wednesday, so he's questionable. So we might see Joe Jackson. He's listed as the backup at right defensive end. 2019 5th-round pick out of Miami, or Takaris McKinley. He's listed at left defensive end. 2017 1st-round pick out of UCLA. Then linebackers, you're talking about one of the most injured groups in the entire nation. In my opinion, Mac Wilson has a calf injury, limited practice, questionable for this game. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, their 2nd-round draft pick, has an ankle injury, he's on IR at least until week 10. Malcolm Smith has an abs injury, limited practice, questionable. Jacob Phillips has a biceps issue, IR. Montrell Meander, Achilles injury, IR. Which means if Mac Wilson and Malcolm Smith, with the only 2 questionables, are not able to go, they only have 4 linebackers that are healthy. Obviously, they probably move someone up for the practice squad, but as we know today, Anthony Walker, injuries or not, will likely be starting in the middle. 2017 5th-round pick out of Northwestern, and then Sion Takitaki is listed as the other, I think right, it might be left or right. He's listed as an outside linebacker, 2019 3rd-round pick out of BYU. So that leaves one more linebacker position to fill. So it'll likely be Tony Fields II, the 2021 5th-round pick out of West Virginia. He plays outside linebacker already. But if you want to go with a more experienced player, he's listed as 3rd-string middle linebacker, but with no Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Elijah Lee, 2017 7th-round pick out of Kansas State, could end up filling that role. It's interesting. So many injuries for the Browns. Makes it... I just don't see the Browns winning this game. The Browns were a team I picked to make the playoffs, and honestly, I think I had them as the number 3 overall team. This was a team I had a lot of faith in heading into the year. I still have a lot of faith in them if they can get healthy, but the fact is you cannot suffer this many injuries. You're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 players that would see significant playing time injured. That's just not something you can handle if you're an NFL team. You're going up against another NFL team, which isn't honestly facing that many injuries. Obviously, the wide receiver core is a little bit hurting, but outside of that, Garrett Bowles and Bradley Chubb is hoping to come back this week. You have Albert O, and you have Teddy Bridgewater. But if Teddy Bridgewater is able to go, if all the questionable people are able to go for the Broncos, you're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4 players. And they've been without Deshaun Hamilton, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler for most of the year. They've been able to survive without them. They've been able to learn how to win without them. I don't see the Broncos losing the football game. I know the Browns are favored by 1.5 points, but this is a Teddy Bridgewater team that is well coached and I think this is a really solid Broncos team. I think it's a possible playoff team, And right now, if the Browns have all these injuries, they just cannot beat a team like that. Sorry, Browns, but this is the Broncos game to win. Hey, everybody, this is GGB Coach Pepper saying, adios, amigos.